Fantasy fudge is something I like to make every year on Christmas. Fudge was invented on Valentine's Day in 1886 by a confectioner and chocolatier in Baltimore, Maryland, when he screwed up a batch of French caramels. The first recorded mention of fudge was in 1888 by Emmeline Battersby Hartridge, who wrote a letter about a recipe that a cousin had given her. Fantasy fudge was invented in 1979 by the Kraft Company and printed on its jet-puffed marshmallow cream labels. Now I'm going to show you all my prep. I have an aluminum tray here lined with wax paper, and I'm repurposing the wax paper that I used for my divinity. I have a bag of walnuts here. I like to use more nuts than what the recipe calls for. It calls for half a cup, but I like more nuts to offset the sweetness. 1.5 cups of sugar, a cup of chocolate chips, and I'm using semi-sweet chocolate chips instead of milk chocolate. Semi-sweet has less sugar than milk chocolate. 1/3 cup of evaporated milk, 3/4 cup of marshmallow cream, again it's more sugar, 6 tablespoons of butter, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract, or flavoring, whichever you prefer. I'm going to give y'all a tip about these candy thermometers. If you ever have any moisture inside of one, even a drop of moisture is going to cause this tube to fog up and you won't be able to see the reading. So if you get any moisture inside of it, take the top off and dry it out with a hair dryer. And make sure it's completely dry before you use it. You want to make fudge with a non-stick pan because this sugar will stick to the pan real easy. And you want to cook it on low to medium heat. I like to start with the milk. And then I add the sugar to it. And now I'm going to dissolve this sugar before I turn the heat on. Well, it's not dissolved, Now I'm going to add the butter. Now the candy thermometer goes on. You want this candy thermometer just above the pan in the liquid. You don't want it touching the bottom. I'm going to turn my burner on. The butter's melted. It's come up to temp. It's at a gentle rolling boil. And now I just have to watch it and make sure it doesn't burn as it comes up to temp. Okay, there it is. Take it off the heat. Now the marshmallow cream goes in. And the chips, I kind of separate them a little bit. And you want to stir these until they're melted. Don't let your chocolate chips stick to the bottom of the pan. If your chocolate chips stay on the bottom of the pan and don't get fully incorporated, your fudge is more likely to be grainy. That's what causes grainy fudge. Now the vanilla goes in. When you get it to this stage, when you've got everything incorporated, it's going to have an oily, glossy texture, and it's going to be smooth. Now the nuts go in. Now it goes into the pan. This is what it looks like in the pan. Now I'm going to put it in the cold room until it sets. My fudge is set up. Now I'm going to take it out of the pan and cut it up. I like to cut my fudge into small bite-sized pieces because those big 2x2 inch square pieces are really too big in my opinion. See, in the South, we've always been told to eat everything on our plates, eat everything that's handed to us. And it's led to a serious obesity problem. I think we should consider portion sizes when we're dishing out food in the South, and especially when we're feeding our kids when they're growing up. Don't give them too much and then tell them you have to eat it all. Or when I was growing up, we would get our asses beat if we didn't eat all of the food on our plates. And in my opinion, that's really wrong. We shouldn't do that to children. You shouldn't do it to anybody. So that's the reason I cut my pieces up really small into about 1/2 inch square pieces. And honestly, if it crumbles because of the amount of nuts that I have in it, that's fine. I don't care. It's fudge. Honestly, I'd rather have a mouthful of nuts than a mouthful of sugar. This is how it turned out. And like I said, it is really crumbly because of the nuts. I don't care. Still delicious. It's still really sweet. Even though I used semi-sweet chocolate chips, it's still way sweet. See, I'll show you what I mean. Here's one that fell apart when I took it off the wax paper. And this is one that I just formed by hand. You see? I'm rolling my fudge into about 1/2 to 1 inch size balls. They're not all the same size. And I'm pressing the nuts into the center of the ball as much as I can. I'm rolling it up. They're almost like little fudge truffles. That's what they look like. I think fudge is more fun to eat this way. Sometimes you just gotta think outside the 2 inch square. These are my chocolate fudge balls, and these are going on the table in the cooling room. Now I'm going to make my signature flavor, butter rum pecan, and I'm going to speed through it. These white chocolate chips aren't as greasy as the semi-sweet chocolate chips were. I just wanted to show y'all that. This is my butter rum pecan fudge in the pan, and it's going in the cold room on a cooling rack. Here's my butter rum pecan fudge after it's set up, and I'm going to cut this while it's still a little bit warm. It looks like I'm going to have better luck keeping the butter rum pecan in squares. I prefer the butter rum pecan to the chocolate. And I'm going to box these up after they've finished setting. I have both kinds of fudge here. I've got my chocolate fudge balls and my butter rum pecan fudge squares. Making fudge is a lot of fun. Y'all go on ahead and try it this holiday season. See y'all later. Bye.